And finally, start with what you have, the core of effectuation theory. So, you start with who you are, your traits, abilities, attributes, dreams, your will. What you know, your experience, your education, your expertise. Who I know, your social network, your colleagues, your family, your friends, your classmates. And then you start thinking, what kind of effect can I create given this? So you start with what you have, and then you vision possible goals. And you start imagining quite a few goals. And again, the effectuation definition is taking a set of means as a given and focus on selecting between possible effects that can be created with that set of means. So you start with what you have. And we can contrast this with managerial thinking that you would have in a company, a larger company perhaps. Then you have a lot of means, like mean 1, mean 2, mean 3, mean 4. That can give a given goal, and you have decided on this goal and it is set in stone basically. But in effectual thinking, in entrepreneurial thinking, you have a set of given means and you use them to reach imagined ends. So to focus in on using a set of evolving means to achieve new and different goals. And these means can change when you form partnerships and you get new means. You might have a high level goal, like being your own boss or getting rich, but those goals do not tell you what to do now. A firmly set goal, like starting a restaurant, might force you to constrain your entrepreneurial action to pursue resources you do not currently possess. So you start with what you have. And there are some advantages with being means-driven. You are increasing the possible slate of stakeholders who can self-select into your venture. You are working with your strengths without having to overcome your weaknesses. Good stakeholders want to shape goals, not just provide means. And if the goal is already set in stone, that is not possible. Therefore, you're not able to take on new stakeholders, good stakeholders. Being means-driven means not chasing investors. You are increasing the probability of innovative surprise when you do this. You're not waiting for the perfect opportunity, you are acting. You increase the probability of finding or creating opportunities that are better fit for you. You are increasing the likelihood of failures being learning experiences. And you are forcing yourself to be creative with merger resources. One example is the steel order that you see in this picture. A steel order is a case in point. She was born Josephine Esther Mentzer and was a daughter of US immigrant and married to Joe Lauter, the entrepreneur who created the cosmetic giant in the first half of the 7th century. She unabashedly leveraged both what she loved and hated about her heritage to reinvent herself, including changing her nickname Esty to Estée, with the acute accent on the first E. And she helped all the women she reached out to see that they had a potential to grow into who they could be. Even in her early days of business, instead of greeting potential customers with the usual "May I help you?", the self-created Estée Lauder would approach women in beauty parlors with "I have something that would look perfect on you, madam. May I show you how to apply it?" Later, in places like Saks Fifth Avenue and Neiman Marcus, she would say, "Try this. I am Estée Lauder and these are the most wonderful beauty products in the world." Because Lauder did not have the kind of money her competitors had that to put on ad campaigns, she gave up free samples. That was a practice unheard of in the industry at the time and jeered at by professionals as a recipe for disaster, because she was giving away her whole business. However, Lauder meant that this was the most honest way to do business, and it turned out that people who went into the store to get free samples ended up not only buying products but also acting as a word of mouth, telling people that this was something to buy. This is another example, starting with what I know. Anne de la Verge started with a very small idea. Looking at a stack of used envelopes in her recycling and thinking of a paper-producing plant, it occurred to her that a lot of small envelopes could make a big impact. Further investigation told Anne that indeed there are a lot of small envelopes. At least 81 billion return envelopes are produced and sent through the US mail each year. Tough on the environment, using 1.8 billion tons of wood, generating 1 billion pounds of greenhouse gas, not to mention the energy used to produce and transport these envelopes. It was also tough on the bottom line, as return envelopes represent between 15 and 45% of a business' direct mailing costs. Anne was an organic farmer with a philosophy of reuse. She already saved large envelopes to send out again herself. But what if she could apply that thinking to 81 billion return envelopes? With that idea, Anne founded Eco Envelopes, a firm built on the simple goal of using one envelope instead of two for round-trip business mail transactions. Figuring out how to transform her small idea into big impact, however, was not obvious. So Anne, who had also worked as a graphic designer, sat down at her kitchen table with some office supplies and a sewing machine, and prototyped her reusable envelope idea. Her first envelope yielded 10 envelopes, which she made off to friends around the country. When all 10 came back, she knew she was onto something. Partnerships and communities can provide critical mass for entrepreneurial ideas. Anne began extending her community beyond her friends to include businesses that both use the mail and have an environmental mission. The first were the Land Stewardship Project and the Minnesota Landscape. In addition to feeling better about their direct mail efforts and saving money too, these organizations have increased response rates using eco-envelopes to as high as 8%, roughly 10 times the average for mail campaigns. So this ended up becoming a business. And then again, who you know, friends, family, acquaintances. You meet people through interactions that are by chance and by accident. And the 6 degrees of separation principle. You probably know someone who knows someone who knows someone that you can get involved in your business. Here we have an example of people getting to know each other. We start with Bert Rutan. His father was a dentist who teamed up with 4 other pilots to buy his own plane. So Bert, he had a plane close by growing up. Bert's brother, Dick Rutan, was a decorated Air Force pilot who served in Vietnam. Rutan himself earned a degree in aeronautics from California Polytechnic University in 1965, and he joined the Air Force testing new airplanes. And in 1972 he became director of a test center for airplanes in Kansas. And then in 1974 he started his first venture, Rutan Aircraft Factory, and developed light aircrafts and served the home-built plane market by developing and selling planes. In August 2002, the White Knight, a spaceship carrier plane designed by Bert Rutan, took to the air. After that, a series of 56 step-by-step flights were undertaken, culminating in the historic moment of June 21st, 2004, when Spaceship One became the first private rocket ship to break the space barrier. And in October 2004, Spaceship One won the Ansari X Prize. Rutan's comrade in arms on this venture was Paul Allen, co-founder of Microsoft, who came on board the enterprise as early as March 2001. As he left Microsoft in 1983, Allen became both an investor and a philanthropist in a variety of science and space-related projects. He was a strong proponent of private non-governmental funding for space programs. 3 months after the historic flight, on June 21st, Sir Richard Branson, founder of the Virgin Group, announced an agreement with Mojave Airspace Ventures to develop the world's first privately funded spaceships that will carry commercial passengers on space flights. MAV is Paul Allen's company, and it owns the technology embodied in Spaceship One, which in turn was designed by Bert Rutan and built by his company, Scaled Composites. Branson formed a new company called Virgin Galactic with a view to kick-starting the space tourism industry. Virgin Galactic's business plan calls for 3,000 astronauts and a ticket price of $200,000 for each passenger. Commenting on the announcement, Virgin Galactic's founder, Sir Richard Branson, said in 2004, "We've always had a dream of developing a space tourism business, and Paul Allen's vision combined with Bert Rutan's technological brilliance have brought that dream a step closer to reality." When you start with what you have, you can make an inventory of your means. Who you know, that you use your Rolodex, your LinkedIn page, your Facebook. You consider your friends, family, your classmates, the alumni, the people you meet by chance, and the strangers in your life. And then what you know, what's your prior knowledge? Knowledge from your job, from your education, knowledge from your life, informal learning from hobbies, and who you are. Tastes, values and preferences, your passions, your dreams, your hobbies, your interests. And you build from that. So in summation, an entrepreneur minimizes the risk, controls the environment, creates the opportunities, start small with who you are, what you know, and who you know. And here are some further exploring that you can look at. And that was the end of this entrepreneurship lecture.